Okay, we're talking movie time.
Yay.
So we've done some videos talking about our favorite things out there. We did one on documentaries.
Yep.
Now it's time to get real. Who's got kids out there? Oh yeah, me too. I got 3.
I only got 2.
I got 3 boys.
It's okay.
You have 2 boys too, right?
I do not.
No, your girl's tough though, man. She's a hard hitter.
She's tough.
But anyway, movies. If you want to get your kids into guitar or music, there's a great, easy way to do it. We got all the great stuff on Nickelodeon, everything. But let's talk about movies because it is the holiday time of the year.
It's true.
And we want to talk about like guitar, music-centric movies that really sort of like get them into the lore. It goes from like cartoons all the way to some stuff where people die. So censors, be warned. And there might be some nudity in some of them too. So it's like we'll warn you.
Be aware of what you're before.
We're
you
your
just,
IMDb rating right now.
And don't take parenting advice from us.
I'm a great parent if bad parenting is a thing. Jonathan, take us off.
Number 1, Trolls World Tour. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
It's fantastic. It's good. I have seen it 1,317 times.
No, the only reason like I allowed for this to be like on the thing, like when we were talking about it, is like everyone I've talked to is like, you gotta see Trolls World Tour. I'm like, why? I hate the idea of Trolls. It looks terrible.
Yeah. Oh well,
like a marketing ploy, like these little things with hair. Wait. Okay, never mind. Continue. Tell me about the movie.
So it's Trolls. It goes through all the sort of genres of music, which is cool for kids to sort of start thinking about. There's country, there's rock, there's classical.
Okay.
That's kind of fun. It's just cool. There's a great soundtrack. The kids are into it. Guitar is really centric because the sort of quasi-evil troll queen, who is like the hard rock troll, who's going to take over the other trolls. She's playing the guitar.
Guy.
Oh, of course there's a bad guy.
Well, because like all I know about is like Derek, the guy behind the cameras. He came in like after he saw Trolls World Tour, and he was wearing a Trolls World Tour shirt the day after. He like got on the internet. I don't know how he did it, but he was like, Baxter, you gotta see this movie. It's amazing. It's the best movie. He's a cinemaphile. He's kind of a snob.
It's true.
Like I turn him on to some of like the weird ones, like watch Old Boy from a Korean film. It's great. Not for kids.
Not for kids.
Or Happiness, another great cinephile. Not for kids. But great movies. Philip Seymour Hoffman's finest. Oh,
I mean, there are no Trolls World Tour. But
But Derek and I like talk about these movies, and he's like, "You gotta see Trolls." I'm like, I don't know, man, but I'll watch it this holiday season.
It's pretty cool. When the kids watch that, I want to harm myself less than some of their other.
When he was all about like how inspired, like it's inspiring for kids to get into music.
It is
this types of music, and like that's what we're doing this whole video for. So, Trolls, I haven't seen it. I can't give it my thumbs up. You give it a thumbs up, though?
After we watched it, my children set up a drum set made of cardboard boxes in their playroom, a make-believe mic stand, and an old guitar, and they did that for probably 3 weeks. So.
And fun side note on this one I remember, too, is that it was one of the first sort of like, during this whole COVID world, when they just released it straight streaming, and it made so much money that way. The theater's like, whoa, Nelly, don't do that in the future. And then now we have Wonder Woman coming straight to HBO Max on December 25th. I'll be watching that day one. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Merry Christmas to me, you gorgeous Israeli princess. Next movie. Okay, we're going to cut right into probably the greatest music movie for kids ever, The School of Rock.
It's pretty awesome.
This is Jack Black's finest. This movie came out quite a while ago. It's a lot older than people think because it's been around. But this revolutionized my life in a weird way. Because I've been in music my whole life, and when I saw it movie, I was like, whoa, this is a different way to teach kids. Yeah. I've been teaching for a little bit and been in the guitar world my whole life. I think I was in New York when this movie came out. You can make music fun.
You can.
And stupid. And this movie is insanely great. And all the kids are playing that music in that movie. And it spawned a Broadway show that became a huge hit too, which I'm a big fan of anything that does that. But Jack Black, if that's not the guy you want to be a music teacher, you are insane. Because we all went to music or school, and you had your music, and you're like, doo, 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 doo. Like, who wants to play the recorder? You're going to become a flute player. You don't want your kid to become a flute player. That's like the worst thing. It might as well be a bassoonist.
Flautist.
Wait for comments. And continue. But Jack, like his infectious love and hijinks and comedy and throughout the whole movie, you've seen this movie.
Absolutely, yes.
Who's not seen it? It started a franchise that you can buy a School of Rock and teach this. And I think it's a great thing. It's a competitor to our teaching program, but not really. I love it. I love that it's out there.
It's awesome, yeah.
Because anything that gets more kids into music, because like the old-fashioned way of teaching is not applicable in the same way because kids have supercomputers in their pockets.
Right.
They're bored. They want this crazy, frantic, energy person, which I unfortunately am as well. So I watched it. I was like, this is like
I could do this.
A more filled out version of me. I
Yes.
like him. He's kind of a loser like me, and he's fun and happy and go watch Jack Black on his what is it, his TikToks or something. Watch him doing the WAP. It is like, trust me, just type on YouTube Jack Black doing the WAP, WAP.
Yeah.
Wine and pizza. If you don't know, if you're not hip. But yeah, it's amazing. So the whole movie is wonderful. The kids in the movie are wonderful, and I have not showed this to my kids yet.
I haven't either.
There's a little bit of racy stuff
Yeah.
in it. It's like there's some cuss words. Jack Black's a loser in a band and everything.
Yeah.
Like me and like you.
It's not like they haven't seen that in real life.
No, it's like, Dad.
Oh, look.
No, but it is. It's one of the. It's I mean, we said it as our second movie here. It's one of the greatest movies for kids to get into the music. So, School of Rock, put it on your list for this holiday season. Unbelievable.
Yes.
Okay, number 3.
Party time. Excellent.
I know, Wayne's World, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is maybe not even just one of the best music movies ever. Maybe one of the best movies.
It's pretty darn good.
And I mean, you talk about like Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, E.T. I'm only naming Steven Spielberg movies. And then I think you put Wayne's World as sort of like somewhere saddled in between Schindler's List and Shallow Hal.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, somewhere in there. But no, Wayne's World. I mean, I saw that in the theaters,
right?
With my one of my best friends at the time, Brian Cox. He was my neighbor I grew up with. We got arrested together. Great stories, all sorts of fun stuff. But this is well before our arresting. But possession and discharge. It's a long story. Possession of what? That's a good question. Ask comments, I'll answer. But no, we Wayne's World.
What year was Wayne's World?
1992, the year of our Lord.
There you
Wayne's
go.
World comes out, and I went there with my parents. So my parents took Brian Cox, my friend, my neighbor across the street, to go see us. And so they sat back here in the back, and then we sat down closer because it's not cool to sit with your parents.
No, it's not.
At the theater. They said my parents laughed at the movie the entire time. Not at the movie. They were laughing at us, rolling on the floor laughing so much.
That's awesome.
Because if you don't like this movie as a kid, I mean, Asphincter says what? You say what now?
What?
Asphincter says what?
What?
Exactly. I mean, it's like it's one of the greatest. I thought that was like I didn't figure that out until years later. I didn't know what I didn't know what an ass sphincter was or anything. But sorry about cussing. If that's kids, I don't mean that. But the jokes in that, and then like this is the first time Queen was really reinvigorated.
I
Like,
mean, yes.
Bohemian Rhapsody, like it was famous before, but oh my goodness, gravy. And this show spawned from Saturday Night Live. You know, Mike Myers, like one of his finest moments, I would say.
I would say so.
And that's and his co-host and cohort there. Do you remember the actor's name? Sir Dana Carvey.
Oh, I should have known that one.
Is that correct? I hope I'm correct there.
That's right.
Good,
That's
good.
correct.
I want to make sure. I thought I was like because I think Dana Carvey's brilliant too.
He is brilliant.
Like those two, like it was a magic time. That was sort of another magic moment of Saturday Night Live too.
I would agree with that.
Everybody was in that sort of 87 to 95 range as well. And then we get lots of comments. How could you say that? Oh, just whatever. I'm just happy. We're happy about it. But that movie, how much fun is it?
And it not only did it reinvigorate Queen, it made that sort of strat that he lusts after front and center, which is amazing. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it was in like the gold glass box at the generic guitar store. Insert name here. But like, and you can't play Stairway to Heaven. No. That's where that sort of became a thing. And like, and as guitar shop people that are in guitar shops every day, like we love it when we hear Stairway to Heaven. We never hear it anymore.
I don't know if I've ever heard it.
You know why? It's not easy.
That's true.
No one can play it anymore.
Not
we
really.
do hear Seven Nation Army.
Yes.
Almost every day.
Yes.
And we hear mutilated versions of Sweet Child of Mine, but not Stairway to Heaven.
Not Stairway to Heaven.
That's one we like to hear. We hear some John Mayer stuff every once in a while.
I feel like I hear a fair
That's
amount
sort of
of
coming up more.
slow dancing in a burning room.
Not
and such.
always so well, but
It's
but
recognizable.
trying. Yeah, it's recognizable. Anyway, that whole movie, it's a rock and roll vibe. It captures, like, even Wayne's World 2, it continues into, like, it's fun. Yeah. It's not as good as Wayne's World 1, but it's not this steep, like, jump off the cliff.
Right.
Oh, my Lord, what happened?
Still funny.
It's still fun. The characters are there. The love of music is there. The guitar is treated as important as any central, like, godlike figure in the whole movie. Like, as much as the beautiful, like, maiden that becomes sort of the heroine of the movie in
Right.
some ways too. And Rob Lowe is in it, and he is
yeah.
phenomenal as the bad guy. Wonderful. He's great in every movie he's in. But this is like one of
Rewatch
those
this. Yeah.
great movie. So Wayne's World, thumbs up. 1, 2, ready. And, ooh, that thing you do. That's not the song, but we just wanted to say that. That thing you do that's one of our top music movies to get your kids into it, or as an adult. This was like 96, I believe, and it was directed by Sir Tom Hanks.
Ooh.
And Tom Hanks is also a star in this.
He is.
You've seen this movie.
I have seen this movie.
Do you love this movie?
I do love this movie.
We both love this movie.
It's a great movie.
It's everything. So it's sort of like following like the story of an American band similar to the Beatles.
Yep.
Growing and becoming really famous really fast, and you get to sort of see what happens and sort of see how that resolves, ends, and it's really, I'm not giving anything away because it's a great story. It's directed brilliantly. I have to say it's one of those. I don't like a lot of music movies.
Right.
There's a lot that you're gonna be like, that should be on the list too. Like, I'm pretty picky about them, and this one has like a magic to it. Like, I saw it as an adult, obviously, because I'm old, but I loved it, and I don't like a lot of music movies because it cuts so close to home.
Right.
Sometimes, like there's one that we talk about that's very similar, and I think it's really frustrating. But I wish it was the one about the devil thing, but it's not. But no, this movie has that magic of that sort of late '60s energy of like, young all-American kids, like just getting it, like getting into music. Not great musicians,
Nope.
but man, like they have a hit, and
Right.
it's going to go places. Tom's going to help them on the way, and it's fun to watch that ride. The twist and turns. I was going to say the twist and trivials. Liv Tyler's in it as well. That's Steven Tyler's daughter, but she's a phenomenal actress. She's also, in all the Lord of the Rings. So if you haven't seen that, oh my goodness, just watch Lord of the Rings. And I'll tell you a story about that one day in another video.
Oh, that'd be a great video.
That's a good one. Oh my, that's actually a really good video.
That's a great video. Yeah.
We'll think about that. So, spoiler alert. But it's a really joyous, fun. The colors are great. The cinematography is beautiful in it. It's a great just capturing of characters and being young. If any of your kids like young 12 to teenagers like starting a band, have them watch this because it's really enlightening. It's terrifying in the same way. There's a lot of lessons to be learned in it. Some that I learned as well. It's very much like, I was like, oh yeah, that's really, I remember that happening. Oops. But yeah, watch this movie. That Thing You Do, Tom Hanks, 1996. Now we enter the year of 1987, and ba-da-la-la-la-la-bamba, La Bamba, Lou Diamond Phillips of Young Guns fame as well. But
Best soundtrack ever.
that is, I think, Bon Jovi's best
It's
record.
their crowning achievement.
Is like
yes.
Young Guns. If you haven't seen Young Guns, go watch Young Guns. It's not a music
down
movie,
in
but
a
it
blaze
might
of
as well
glory.
be
It
because
might
of
as well
Bon
be.
Jovi's soundtrack.
Blaze of Glory. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, that was anyway. La Bamba.
La Bamba.
The-
I remember watching this on TV as a kid
How many times did you watch this movie?
a lot. Because you remember when they used to share the same movie on Saturdays for like
Yep.
a month? I remember watching it like every time I could.
I've probably seen this movie 20 times, at least as a child too.
Right.
And it was very formative to me. So it's the story of Richie Valens, the young Mexican-American singer-songwriter, pop star, who died in that tragic plane crash with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper. Clear Lake, Idaho.
This movie was my introduction to all those things. I had no idea that happened or who most of those people were, and the movie intrigued me. It made me interested, and I
mean, Lou Diamond Phillips captures that magic of seeing the movie. It's not just music; it's like race relations.
Yes.
He's a Mexican kid, and he dates a white girl, and it's controversial. Back in the 50s, whoa, Nelly, that's not cool with a lot of these families here. And it's awesome that they touch on this, and that's a central part of the movie is just his ethnicity. And a lot of people don't know, he didn't speak Spanish.
that was the thing that stuck with me in the whole movie. Oh, wow, he learned to sing that song in
La
Spanish.
Bamba, he was just singing the words. He didn't really know what it was. It was just a folk song that they rock and roll. Because his other great songs, like Donna, a great ballad, kind of boring. But then, hey, come on, let's go. That's a great song. He had 3 massive hits, and then he's extinguished as a teenager in this plane crash. And a small side note, the pilot of that plane was, I believe, 21 years old or something,
Whoa.
a young guy. It was a snowy night when they left, at nighttime, and there was rumors that he had vertigo.
Okay.
So we lost some of our biggest legends in the Big Bopper. Who doesn't love the Big Bopper?
Yeah.
And talking about Buddy Holly, I'm a huge Buddy Holly junkie. If anybody knows me, anything about me, they know I'm obsessed with Buddy Holly for various reasons. But the Gary Busey Buddy Holly story movie, that's out there. It doesn't really stand the test of time as well as this movie does. I like it. It's kind of terrifying that he doesn't look anything like Buddy Holly. or the guitar I think it was a rosewood neck on the guitar.
And a big headstock.
And a big headstock. Yeah. It's very confusing. But they are remaking the Buddy Holly story right now. And I think they've already cast like a Chuck Berry character.
Oh, wow.
And I think they cast Buddy Holly. They've cast everybody. So it is in pre-production or something. So be on the eyes for that.
Exciting.
But anyway, 1987, La Bamba. For sure watch this movie.
Yes.
Okay, parental guidance suggested for this next one. I didn't know that when I was showing it to my 7-year-old and my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old. I was just watching. I was like, this is one of my favorite movies. The Blues Brothers.
Who didn't love the Blues Brothers? Blah.
I mean, my dad showed me this, like as a child, and we watched this 1,000 times. This and Animal House, which is also completely inappropriate for your children. This is not, but Animal House you cannot watch with your kids, your young kids. Teenagers, yes, they've seen everything more than you probably have seen. It's depressing. But Blues Brothers, this started off as well as a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yes.
It's you got Jim Belushi.
Yes.
And Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
As the central characters, the Blues Brothers. This has a cast of everybody who is anybody.
Steve Cropper. It's in there.
Everyone's in there. I mean, you get Ray Charles in there. You get
Aretha
everybody
Franklin.
in there.
Yeah.
You've got
I forgot about it. That's awesome. That's true.
like the finale set number. It's when they're playing the live shows. It's unbelievable. The music in this. It's everyone who's anyone from like the 70s and 80s, like the icons. Like
they're all there.
And the music's great. The dancing is great. Like Dan Aykroyd's dancing is hilarious. I mean, and so is Belushi's. I mean, I said Jim Belushi, John Belushi. Oh my God! I was thinking like Turner and Hooch earlier. Oh my God! Just hang me right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I have like a small like side story that my parents saw the Pirates of Penzance. I think when Belushi, Jim was starring in that, and it's the night he was told that his brother died.
Whoa!
From and because he was doing theater at that time. I think it was the Pirates of Penzance. I can't remember what show it was, but I know it was. That might have been the show I was at with him. It was in Chicago. I grew up as a kid in Chicago. Side note. Anyway, back to the movie. Unbelievable. So it's got music, R&B, country. The country scene is hilarious. With the chicken cage, remember that?
Yeah, I do
but
remember that.
It has Nazis in it. How do they put Nazis in this? They're chasing them across the country. You have a bunch of rednecks chasing them across the country. And in the final car chase, to this day, still has a record for the most cars destroyed in a car chase on film ever. Because there was no CGI in 1980 when this movie came out. They literally do the car chase in downtown Chicago, and they are wrecking cars, and it's hilarious. And they're on a mission from God, too.
They are.
So I'll put this on the category of a Christian film as well.
Fun side note, I went into a Blues Brothers based or themed restaurant in Ireland one time, and they had a model of the car. It was like an American restaurant, but the whole thing was Blues Brothers. It was kind of awesome.
That sounds horrible.
I mean,
I love it.
It was, but it was also great.
It's like when you go to Charleston, you got to go to Bubba Gun Shrimps, and they're like, I don't want to go to Bubba. It's so touristy, but it's so good, and it's so cute. And that was a movie like this that they made a whole like theme. I went to the Corova Milk Bar in New York City based on a Clockwork Orange's bar. That was there for about a decade or so. It was really weird.
I was gonna say that sounds.
It was a weird bar. Anyway,
right.
That was a weird movie to base your business off of. Yeah. Clockwork Orange. Don't watch that with your kids.
Don't.
You should watch it though. Stanley Kubrick's
Not
fine.
child friendly.
That and
but good.
Full Metal Jacket. Love it. Okay, next. Here we go. Now we're gonna get a little trippy here. Let's go to 1968 and join a cartoon.
There you go.
Which cartoon should we go to?
What about the Yellow Submarine?
No, this is the Beatles' foray into a full-fledged cartoon production.
It's true.
Wacky Adventures, and we chose this one primarily. A, it's a cartoon, but B, it's the Beatles.
It's the Beatles.
And there's the whole catalog of Beatles movies to watch, as well as Elvis movies to watch. It's a sort of a similar idea of getting them into these things, but we chose this one in particular. It's an easy sort of softball pitch to get them into
right.
the greatest band in the history of bands.
Yes.
just to sort of expose them to this music. Like my kids are obviously already inundated with the Beatles because they live with me. But a lot of people, you might be just putting the radio on and just doing the easy pop grind. Like get them into the Beatles early.
Yeah.
This is pop music from the '60s. Let them have it, and it's amazing. The movie's fun. These movies still stand the test of time.
Confession, I have never seen this one.
Have you ever seen any Beatles movies?
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious if you had.
Yes, I have, but I've never watched this one.
Because I know you'll watch the Tom Petty documentary over and over. You watch it in the bathroom every time you go to the toilet. I know that. I hear like, well, back down. Like, stop it. Watch a Beatles movie.
Hey.
Tattooed on his arm, for goodness sake.
He's not wrong, but still.
But it's one of those great movies you got to see. Just it's fun, and seeing like the Beatles like voiceover cartoons is hilarious. It's Sir Paul McCartney. You have John Lennon, George, Ringo. It's like Scout's Honor. How do you do that again? Like this. It's a great. I was never a Scout, but it's a great movie. Watch it. Yellow Submarine.
I'm gonna watch it.
So 1986 seems to be a central year of the greatest movies ever made. Maybe. Like,
it's possible.
This is like the year of like Top Gun and everything, and then and a couple years before is like Red Dawn.
Yes,
the greatest time in history for movies. But this is not for kids. This one, it's for teenagers, like 10 and up. I'm gonna say, maybe even older.
Maybe a little older.
Maybe 12.
Maybe 12 and up, 13 up.
Ralph Macchio's finest role besides the Karate Kid.
I just thought he was the Karate Kid in this movie. I thought the Karate Kid played guitar too.
He does kick tail, but not with his fists, with his axe. That's Crossroads, right. 1986. This is the story of a young classical guitar student at Juilliard, I believe.
Yes.
And he goes on a mission, a soul-searching mission to find real music.
Yes.
In himself, and he ends up in the South, trying to help save a man who has sold his soul to the devil at the Crossroads. And you said it was Robert Johnson's harmonica player?
I think in the movie he's Robert Johnson's. He's looking for like Robert Johnson's like long lost unrecorded song.
So like the movie itself is weak.
It's not that good.
It's not that good. But it's a movie about guitar, and like the final, you get to have a battle with the devil's right hand man, who is played by
Steve Vai.
Steve Vai.
Oh, Jack Butler cutting heads.
Cuts heads, duels with Ralph Macchio in this final, and some people just go on YouTube and watch the final guitar battle. It's amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
I think Steve Vai still won it.
Well, yeah.
When you watch the battle, I mean, even though he's playing both parts, isn't he?
The hardest acting part at the end is like when he pretends to mess up. You're like, that's really good, Steve.
Because
Because you don't mess up in real life. You can never mess up.
It's like Joe Bonamassa.
Right.
Like those two don't make mistakes. It's frustrating.
I just remember watching that movie and thinking, like, is this a real thing? And like, could I go somewhere and like someone's gonna cut my head? I mean, it was kind of amazing.
I still believe it's a real thing, and I
think
I believe in the spirit of Christmas and joy and everything. I also believe in this darkness of like you can go down and find the crossroads. Maybe the devil will pop up. If your soul is, and then he can make a deal with you, and then your soul is his.
I mean, that could be too. I just meant the like cutting heads thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about that.
But also, I mean, hey, you just never do know.
No, I mean cutting heads. I mean, I think it's not a thing like that way,
It's
but
sort of like falling out of.
It's kind of like racing for pink slips.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean, there's still like Fast and Furious world, but that's like not as real as like even though those are great movies too, amazing. The series. And the final one's coming out soon, I've heard. But anyway, this movie is a ton of fun to watch as a guitar player, as a young guitar player. I think even if you do a little editing with it when you watch it, if you're showing it to young kids, you could show it to young kids. There's a little bit of sexual.
You could just fast forward a little bit. Or like you said, just go from sort of where they meet the devil at the crossroads to the end. That's really...
That's what you need to see. I mean, watch the beginning when he's practicing in his dorm room, and then skip an hour. Right. And then get to the show. When
he does that classical thing for his professor and throws the blues lick in, and they're all like, "How could you ruin this?
The sacred music written by Soar or Bach that you can't change it." Even though Bach used to improvise and jam the whole time, that's what people used to go to see Bach at church. Like, isn't that funny? You go, "I'm gonna go see Bach this weekend." "Oh, you going to? I'm gonna see Bach." They go see Bach. He played church and he'd do his fugues and his cantatas, and he would improvise on the organ. And then so they go see and he was not a fun dude. He was just an old white dude with like 21 children from the same woman, and he would just play and like he would just jam out on one of his fugues, and that was like the first improv like artist there.
Are you telling me he was the first jam band?
He was Greg Allman, like learned everything he learned from J.S. Bach.
You heard it here first.
Not Johann Christian, but J.S. the original. So speaking of J.S.,
it's a perfect transition here.
Now this one's kind of funny because this is not going to lead you into guitar, you think?
Maybe.
This was one of the most formative musical movies of my childhood. I've seen this movie umpteen times as well. Amadeus. This is the story of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. This is not for the faint of heart. It's 3 hours long. 3 hours plus, I believe.
Yeah, it was like 3 hours and 18 minutes.
I owned
when I
the soundtrack as a kid. As a 10-year-old kid, I had like the CD soundtrack with the record, I think, with the book. And I gave it to my grandmother. It was one of the last movies I watched with her while she was alive. And the last one was I just want to play Mr. Bean.
Oh, yeah.
It was a Mr. Bean movie.
That's great.
I was like, which Mr. Bean? I think Mr. Bean, when he goes to Europe. It was a great movie. He goes to the Cannes Film Festival. Anyway, but Amadeus, it covers the story of young Amadeus up until his young death in his 30s. But it's fascinating to watch how this young child. You haven't seen this movie.
I haven't seen this one.
You need to watch it. It's not really.
I will.
You could not watch it with Elijah
no,
yet.
I'll just watch this.
It's not because it's inappropriate. It's just boring for a kid.
Right.
At this point, you have to be a little bit older, probably 10. And if they're music diehards, show them this movie. But Mozart was like 7 years old, and he could like go hear a symphony with his dad and go home and write down every part of it.
Wow.
Like from oboe to violin, and he was so talented. He didn't make many friends because he's probably on the spectrum in a lot of ways too, is what historians have thought. And back then, he was so brilliant. Other composers that were like the most famous composers of their day, like he would come to court and they would see this young child and they would expect this like radiant, beautiful thing, and he would come in and do fart jokes. As like a 10-year-old running around, or like as a teenager running around chasing tail. He was chasing skirts like in court of Europe. And they would expect this like magnificent like J.S. Bach type figure, like this regal thing, and he's kind of a clown. He had this laugh, like kind of like the Joker. It was really he was a kid, but touched by the gods and insanely talented. Yeah. And like there's a scene in the movie early on when like Salieri, who becomes his nemesis in the movie. This is sort of created for the story of the movie. Not all this is necessarily true. But it's a great story. It won like 7 Academy Awards,
right?
Like from music to acting to writing and directing and editing. But Salieri shows him one of his themes, and most are like, "Oh, this would be even better if you did this." And he added, and then he just created this whole piece to it, like on the spot. And he was doing it that he thought he was being nice to Salieri because he doesn't understand. But then Salieri took this as, "You are now my life's mission to destroy this. There's no way God could have given," because most composers were very religious, and you had to be a higher of the court. You didn't write for your own music back then. You worked for a king or a lord or a duke, and you worked in their stead, and you wrote pieces for them to have like at their brunch or at their party. And that's how music was. And then you see his whole journey from, he sort of starts the operas for normal people too, because opera was just for rich peoples. And it's just the journey of his life, and the downturn of his life is quite wrenching to watch. And the moves he had to make and to survive, because he was poor, and and I'm not gonna give away the ending of it, but it's not a happy ending. But the fact that his music we only talk about who? Mozart, Beethoven, and Bach.
That's about it.
Then you get deeper into, and there's Wagner and Schumann, Schubert, and then Liszt, and we kind of go down like the road of the greatest hits. But Mozart is still the king, and this movie it follows him from his childhood to the end, which isn't very old, and in his 30s, and he is sort of like what I considered as a kid, as a 10-year-old watching this, was like the first rock star, because he was sort of the mold of this court musician was starting to change. It wasn't there by the time Beethoven came about, but Mozart was right in the midst of it, and he was trying to break out of it, but he needed perfect, but it wasn't like a political force, but it was his music was so. And it's just so enjoyable to watch as a music. This is your music nerd piece. So we had a lot of ones there. Amadeus is sort of one of my favorites. It's touching, because my grandmother, she gave me my first guitar too, so it's a personal subject. But you got Amadeus on one bookend, Trolls World Tour. But Trolls, watch that Amadeus first. Watch Wayne's World. You got to see that. We have a whole other category of music movies we're going to do soon as well, for everyone, not just for kids, but this is what's going to get them in there. So share more with us right now. Share with all of the people below.
Put them in the comments.
And this is how we help each other find great movies to get our kids into music. Even if they don't play it, just get them to love good music. Like, you don't want to watch this, the Led Zeppelin live at Madison Square Garden concert with the kids yet, because then you have to explain what massive drug use does to Jimmy Page's playing. But these are all great to get them into it.
Yes.
Let us know what you think. Jonathan, thank you for talking with us.
No, thank you. If you have not done so, please hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell so you don't miss videos in the future. We appreciate it greatly. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.